Hi, welcome back. This is our second card in this month's card class, and personally this is my favourite card of the four. So I wanted to use the square dies in this class, obviously, but I didn't want to focus just on the square, so I've tried to do something different with each card. And here I would say is a traditional layout with the squares, but I've tried to mix it up a little bit again with those lovely papers. So to make a start, you're going to need your grey granite card base. Mine is pre-cut and pre-scored. The measurements are all in your email. If you're watching the video, you would have found the measurements. It's a tent fold card design again, and that is a nice stand tall one. Again, just make sure that your crease is nice and you've scored your crease well so that it stands up nicely. The piece of designer series paper I've gone for is one of my favourites in the pack. It's one of those pieces of paper that it's quite busy, but it goes really well used as a background piece in my opinion, and these flecks of gold really bring it together, make it really special. On the back we've got sort of black and white stripes, which again, beautiful background piece as well. Feel free to mix it up and change your patterns, and I'd love for you to share that with me if you do decide to do that. Please don't think I'd be offended. I've had that comment before. Please, I absolutely wouldn't. I love to see people be creative with the kits that I send out. I've then added a piece of embossed white card, and that's using one of the new embossing folders. I'd love to tell you what it's called, but off the top of my head I cannot remember. It's in the main catalogue, in the annual it's in the mini catalogue. Now I'm just adding this to the centre of my card. Just to start with, this is a really straightforward, simple card design, but we're just adding a few little things to jazz it up a bit. Okay, so there is the basis of our card. I love that embossing folder. It's really smart. So what we're going to do is you're going to take your grey granite die cut square, I can't talk now, and you're going to layer that onto a piece of vellum that is in your kit. And I'm going to do that with just little bits of wet glue, used quite sparingly because I don't want to end up in a sticky mess. Okay, so I'm going to put that onto my vellum, and to be as economical as I possibly can be, I'm adding it in the corner. Okay. Now I'm going to wait for that to dry because I don't want it to move before I trim around it. So what I'm going to do next is I'm going to heat emboss my sentiment. So you've got a basic black strip there, and that measures 1.5 by 9 centimetres. It says to angle the ends, but I'm going to do that afterwards. Okay, so bringing the card back in, I'm going to put my sentiment towards this section here. Okay, so bringing in my stamp, which I now can't see. Oh, it's there. Okay, and I'm going to heat emboss this. So when heat embossing onto black cardstock, I tend to find to keep it nice and smart looking, I'm just going to wipe my cardstock with an embossing buddy. Okay. Embossing buddies, we used to sell them. Sadly, we no longer do. You can pick them up on sort of online sites such as Amazon. And I'm going to stamp that about there. Hopefully that's nice and straight, but if it isn't, we'll see what happens. So I'm going to add that to my white cards, my white embossing powder. Tap off any excess. If you have any pieces that you picked up from the edge of the stamp, so I've got a little bit here, just take a dry paintbrush and just wipe it away. Okay, so now let's heat that. Try not to burn your fingers. coming together now. Just going to give it a little set on this end as well. Perfect. Okay, that looks good. So we have our sentiment now. I'm going to just snip off the ends to angle that banner, like so. Now our square should be dry now, so I'm going to put our sentiment to one side. I'm going to bring our square back in, and I'm going to trim around the edge of this, and I'm angling my scissors in so that I'm pretty much cutting underneath that square rather than having a bit poking out the side. So once we've done that, we can bring our card back in, and we're going to attach that to our card with some dimensionals. Now the trick with this, so that you don't see them, is you can put them where there are pieces on your card that you're just not going to see. So we're going to put that there and there. Now turn it over, and then we're going to centre it into our card so that it's in the centre landscape, but also it's in the top section of the card. So that goes about there. Okay. Now we're going to take a piece of linen thread and we're going to tie a nice bow. Do like cards with lots of different textures on, and linen thread is a great way to add a bit of texture to your card. So I'm going to attach a glue dot. I'm going to put my glue dot about there, and then that is going to go about there. Okay. So bringing our banner back in now, this is going to go across our what am I talking about? Going across the linen thread, the bow, that's the word I was thinking of. And this is going to go on with pads. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to stick the pads to the card. Like so. Okay. And then this is going across there, and I'm overlapping it so that it sits just above the bottom of that square die that we've stuck on. Okay, so that's coming together. I'm going to just trim down the little tail of my bow because it's a bit long. And then we've got some flowers. Now these are going to go on with glue dots. So like we did in the first card, I'm going to attach my flowers to my glue dots. These have been cut from the DSP, the pink and white dotty DSP, and you will have 4 of them in your kit. 3 are going on the front and 1 is going to go in the centre. Before you stick them on, I'm just going to roll them between my fingers so that we curve them slightly, and then I'm going to put them just randomly on my card front. Okay, oops, try to keep hold of them. Oops, got it stuck to my desk now. Brilliant. And we're going to have 1 there, and then one about there. Now that looks nice, but to make that look more special, we're going to add some little champagne rhinestones. So I'm just going to put these in the centre of the flowers, and I think it just elevates everything really nicely, adds a little bit of sparkle, which you can never go wrong with. And there you have the card front finished. So we'll pop that to one side. For the inside of our card, we've done a little bit more stamping. Okay, so for this, you're going to need one of the background stamps, and I've gone with this one here. It's got a bit of a stitched effect to it. And you are going to need a smoky slate ink pad if you want to do this to match what I've done. So I'm just going to move that out of the way. And first of all, I'm going to stamp the first layer of ink onto my grid paper, and then I'm going to stamp with the second layer of ink, like so. So it just mutes everything slightly, and that's a really good way of adding different depths to your stamping. And then now we've got happiest of birthdays to you. Just going to clean that stamp there, and this is being stamped with Memento ink just in the centre of that, so that really pops quite nicely. And then to finish up, we've got our last little die cut flower in like so, with a little rhinestone just to finish. These rhinestones are really nice because they don't add too much depth to your cards. If you want to post, it doesn't really make a huge difference, but you just want to check that your postage is covered, obviously, before you send. So that can be stuck inside our card. Like so. And that is our second card design all brought together for you. As I said at the beginning, this is my favourite card in the set. I hope you enjoy it, and please feel free to share your finished cards with me. Thanks so much, guys. Bye.